What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. I was supposed to post this ship tour before the cruise vlog started, but I just got super lazy and didn't feel like editing it all together, so you're going to see it at the end of the cruise vlog. So if you're watching this now, I hope you've enjoyed all the Harmony of the Seas cruise vlogs. The cruise itself was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot of fun to relive it all while editing. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Harmony of the Seas. Starting on deck 4, you have the Royal Theater. This is where all your Broadway-style productions are going to be and all the shows. The Love and Marriage game show is also played in the main theater, and we also had our Magician in the main theater, so that's where a lot of the shows are going to be. Heading back from there is the non-smoking section of the Casino Royale. I think this is a great addition to the ship for those people that like to gamble and don't want to be sitting in the room full of smoke. You know, this is a great section for you guys. As you can see, it is a lot smaller than the regular casino, but it's a nice option to have if you're not looking to gamble without having to sit in the smoking section. Next to that is the Studio B ice skating rink. So, you know, that's what it is, an ice skating rink. You can go ice skating throughout the day, and they also do ice skating shows at night, which are really good. I highly recommend them if you're on a ship that has the ice skating rink. Off to the side of the ice skating rink, there's this little walkway that takes you to the main part of the casino, but you also pass through the art gallery. This was filmed on a sea day, the last sea day, so they don't have any art, but this is where you would normally find it on deck 4. Then moving through there is the main casino. This is where you're going to find all your tables, your slot machines, everything you can think of that you would find in a regular casino. Right behind there is the Azumi Hibachi restaurant. This is so good. We've done it on the Oasis, and now we did it on Harmony. It is just one of the best dining experience on the ship, but it is an extra cost. And then right behind Azumi is one of the 3 entrances to the main dining room on the ship. This was the second entry into the dining room. There's one on deck 3, and then there's also one on deck 5. But you can see, looking over, you can see all 3 levels. It is a huge dining room. This is your complimentary dining that you can have every night. There's 2 different times that you can pick from, or you can pick the My Time dining. But from experiences that I've had from other people, they say it takes a little bit of time to do the My Time dining. Moving on up to deck 5, you have the Royal Promenade. This is one of the most famous spots on any Royal Caribbean ship that has it. This is basically your mall of the ship. You have your bionic bar here, which is a pretty unique idea. You know, the robots make your drinks. You put your order into an iPad and it makes the drink for you. So it's a pretty cool addition to the ship. Right in front of there, you have the Rising Tide bar, which goes from deck 5 up to the Central Park in deck 8. So it's a pretty nice experience. And then on the other side of where the Bionic bar was is your guest services. This is where any questions could be answered. If you're having issues with your SeaPass card or if you want to put money on your account, this is where you're going to go ahead and do it. In front of the guest services is your Cafe Promenade. You can get a lot of finger foods, cookies, little sandwiches, stuff like that. You can also get coffee here. So this is a nice little snack area on the promenade. And then directly across from there is your next cruise desk. Basically, you can book your next cruise there. Moving forward and back to the other side of the promenade is your Sorrento's Pizza. This is 24-hour free pizza. It is included, and the pizza is delicious. You have to try it. Sometimes we just do it for dinner. Across from there is the Boot and Bonnet, basically just a pub on board, a bar to get drinks and stuff like that. Then you have some other shops and, jewelry, cologne, alcohol, stuff like that on the sides. And then the interior is more jewelry. They do a lot of sales here with, discounted shirts and stuff like that. So you'll find that in the middle of the promenade. And then moving into the on-air, this is basically where they do karaoke, trivia, things like that. And there's also a bar on the back side of that. And then moving across from there is Boleros, which is just another bar. They do singing and dancing. They've got live music in here. It's a pretty nice environment. I always see this place pretty packed, whether it's a sea day or a port day. They've always got stuff going on. And of course, like any other spot on the ship, they also have a bar. If I was sitting there right now, I'd be getting a Jack and Coke and just enjoying some live music. Heading forward from there, there's a staircase that leads into Entertainment Place, which is basically everything that I showed you on deck 4. And there's also another entrance to the Royal Theater here. This is kind of the balcony seating, but you can take a look down there and see what the theater looks like. Moving to the outside portion of deck 5, this is your running track and your lifeboat station. The track goes all the way around the entire ship. You also, in the forward area on both sides, you have this little seating area, which with windows that look out into the ocean. And at the very front of the running track, at the front of the ship, you have your entrance to the gym. Anything you can think of, ellipticals, treadmills, Stairmasters, free weights, bikes. They've got it all. This is a huge gym on board. Continuing back, this is just the running track that wraps around the ship. Here's another look at a view that you can get. This is about a little bit past the midway point of the ship, just looking out over the ocean. And it eventually takes you to the back of the ship where it wraps around and brings you back forward. But here you can get some really nice views of the wakes of the ship. I could sit here all day and watch this. This is one of my favorite spots on the ship. They do have a couple of lounge chairs stationed here, but not too many. So if you're interested in sitting there, hopefully you can get a seat because it's totally worth it. And then that staircase right there is going to take us up to deck 6. Moving up to deck 6, we're going to start at the back of the ship in the Aqua Theater. This is at the very end of the ship. This is where your Aqua Theater shows are going to be. It's a really nice open air, like amphitheater type seating, which is really nice. And you can see they got the water fountains going. That deck in the pool goes down. They have high divers from up by that Royal Caribbean logo jumping off of there. These are some really cool shows. I highly recommend them on any Oasis class ship. I know they're switching it with Icon, but the Aqua Theater is one of the coolest features on any cruise ship. Then you have, just behind the Aqua Theater are your 2 rock walls on either side of the ship. They're technically on deck 7, but you have to access it through deck 6. So that's part of what we have on the boardwalk. And then moving back, you can see Sabor on the left and Johnny Rockets on the right. But we're going to turn around real quick and see the exit for the Ultimate Abyss. That's the slide that starts up on deck 16 and takes you all the way down to deck 6. On the port side of the ship, you have Sabor, which is your Mexican restaurant. It is an extra fee, but the food is pretty good. I'm not a big fan of Mexican food, but my fiance is, and she loves it. We did eat here one of the nights on the cruise, and we did it on the Allure as well. But the food is pretty good. I can't lie. Then on the other side, on the starboard side, you have Johnny Rockets. Again, this is an extra fee, but the milkshakes are delicious in there, so you definitely have to try it. Then you have a smaller arcade and a couple shops on the starboard side. And on the port side, you have the logo shop, which is usually on the promenade, but on the Harmony of the Seas and I believe Symphony of the Seas, they have it on the boardwalk. This is where you can buy magnets, ship shirts, ship models, ornaments, all that kind of logo stuff. Then right in front of the logo shop is the Starbucks, which is also usually on the promenade, but they have it on the boardwalk on this ship, which I think is really cool. This is where you can also get that mug that's got the ship name on it, whatever the You've Been There series. And then just out front, right when you walk onto the boardwalk, is the carousel, which is a lot of fun to do. And then you can see up there where it says Harmony of the Seas, that zip line goes across the boardwalk. But yeah, you should definitely give the carousel a try. And right before we head inside on deck 6, you have the doghouse. This is free hot dogs. I don't eat hot dogs, so I don't eat there, but you can get free hot dogs there. Once you come inside and go past the elevator lobby, you have the Schooner Bar. We did some trivia in here. They've got different events that go on throughout the cruise, but they've also got a bar back here. It's a pretty nice place to sit. You can overlook the Royal Promenade and kind of just people watch. You can see some of the people right there doing exactly that. And then moving from the other side of the Schooner Bar is the focused picture gallery, which is basically where you can see all the pictures you've taken throughout your cruise from all the different ports. And you can purchase them, digitally download them. You can get like picture books or a little book with a picture of the ship and your picture in it, which is really nice. And then all the way in the front of the ship on deck 6 is the Vitality at Sea Spa. Moving to deck 8, this is the Central Park. Once we walk through these sliding doors, we'll get started. This takes up a majority of the ship on deck 8. Here's a quick little map of what's going on around the Central Park. You have Vintages first, which is your wine and tapas bar. You can get a whole bunch of different wines and some food delivered to you. So you can sit down and enjoy the live music on Central Park at night. Here's some more of that outside seating that have for the restaurant. But it's also really nice at night, when the sun goes down and the live music. It's a very relaxing place to be. Moving forward from there is Jamie's Italian Restaurant. I don't have any footage from inside of these places because it was sea days, so they were being used. But this is the extra charge Italian restaurant on board, and then across from there you have the Park Cafe. This is the only thing that's included on the Central Park. They've got some little finger foods and desserts and stuff like that in there. And then about halfway through, you've got a bar here that serves all kinds of drinks that you can think of. And just behind there is the seating for Chops Grill. Obviously, Chops Grill is one of the specialty restaurants on board. The food is delicious. I highly recommend it. but you have some outside seating and some inside seating for Chops Grill. So if you're a big steak person, I highly recommend making a reservation for that. And coming up to the very end of Central Park, after walking through it, there's one last thing. There's 150 Central Park, which is a higher end specialty restaurant. I've never eaten here, so I don't know too much about it, but that's also here on Central Park. Then at the very back of the ship, or not at the very back of the ship, but the furthest back on deck 8 without the cabins is Dazzles, which is basically a nightclub. I know it's used a lot at night, but it's got some really nice views of the boardwalk. And we did trivia in here once, so just check your cruise compass to, see what they're hosting in here. But usually it's at night for music and live entertainment. Moving up to deck 11, this is the only thing they have here on deck 11 and deck 12. It's the Wonderland restaurant. I believe we are on deck 12's entrance because you'll be able to look down at the seating on deck 11. But those are the only two things, or the only thing on either of these two decks besides cabins. You can see deck 11 down there with the seating and the views of the boardwalk. And they also have some seating in a bar on deck 12. But this has some really unique features and, imaginative features. Now on deck 14, we have the bridge wings and the first level of the solarium. The Oasis and Allure only have it on deck 15 and 16. Harmony, Symphony, and Wonder, and eventually Utopia have it on deck 14 as well. They've got that glass piece that looks down onto the ocean. You can look down the sides of the ship, and then in this actual solarium part, they've got just some loungers and some chairs, and they don't have a pool in the solarium on this ship, but they do have, water features, I guess you can call them. But it's mainly just seating, and then they have those little eggshell day beds that you can sit in. You don't need to reserve them. You can just, first come, first serve. And they have a hot tub just up there where those stairs are. But on the other side, we're looking down again. You can see down the length of the ship. And the only other thing on deck 14 besides cabins is all of the camps and kids areas and teen clubs and all that stuff. They're all here on deck 14, just behind the solarium area on deck 14. And we're just going to take a quick walk back through here. You can see more of those day beds and loungers on the solarium. Up to deck 15 now. This is the second deck of the solarium. More loungers, more day beds, stuff like that to just hang out and relax in the adults only area. And as we come around the corner here, you're going to be able to see one of the restaurants they have in the solarium. It's called the Solarium Bistro. They don't have too many options here. It also seems like it's a more healthier type vibe in here. My fiance and I had lunch in here on boarding day. It was pretty nice. They've got the desserts here as well. But this is the restaurant in the solarium. And then also on deck 15, coming out of the solarium, you have the cantilever whirlpools. They're on both sides of the ship. They're basically just hot tubs that hang off the side. You also have the ending of the Perfect Storm water slides. The two Twister ones end here, and the bowl slide ends on the other side. And also, you have your 4 different pools, your beach pool, your sports pool, your regular pool, and your kids' pool-ish, hangout area. You can also look down onto Central Park, and they have this bridge that connects the two sides of the ship about halfway between the front and the back. Sometimes they have the live DJ out there and whatnot, but you can see the different areas. On deck 15, we're going to go up to 16 real quick, but we're just going to look down on the different areas on 15. This is the kids area. This is an updated version compared to what Oasis and Allure initially had. So it's a nice playground for the kids to run around. They've got some slides and some lifeguards on duty. Moving back from there is the sports pool, which basically is a regular pool that they do different sports competitions, and you can see they're playing volleyball in here, but they do other stuff, but this is what we call the sports pool. Moving forward on the port side, this is just your regular pool. There's no kind of theme to it. It's just your basic cruise ship pool to hang out, sit in the sun, and have some drinks. Then on the other side is your beach pool, which is basically a regular pool, but where the chairs are, the water kind of overlaps in there. So it kind of just gives you the feeling you're at the beach, with the waves crashing over where the chairs are. And you can see the bowl slide, and the exit to it is down there on 15. So 15 is basically your pool deck until you start moving back to the aft part of the ship. Over here, on our way back there, they've got just some lounge chairs and some, seats and stuff like that to watch the ocean. Once you get to the aft part of deck 15 on the port side, you have your mini golf course. This is Harmony Dunes. It's basically the same name on every other ship except for the ship name, then the word dunes. But this is a nice I believe it's 18 holes or 9 holes or whatever. 18 might be too much, but there's a good amount of mini golf to play here. It's fun for the kids and family. Rachel and I do it all the time. And then it's kind of hard to see the cable, but in between here and where the basketball court is where the zip line goes across. But we'll show you that once we get up to deck 16. But you can also overlook, behind me is one of the complimentary food that's basically El Loco Fresh without the name. And then just in front of that is the full court basketball court. You can see they're just shooting some hoops right now, but they have different activities here, whether it's, dodgeball or basketball or whatever the case is. But this is your full court basketball court, and it is on the starboard side of the ship just behind El Loco Fresh. Moving up to deck 16, if you look up in the forward part of the ship, you will see that's deck 17. That's just the private suite area. But then moving forward on deck 16 is the third and final deck of the Solarium. Again, this is the adults only section of the ship. You can see the bar off to the left there. And up here they've got plenty of loungers and chairs and those those eggshell, type lounger day beds. And this is a good spot if it's raining, although it is kind of open in certain areas. You are able to take some kind of shelter. I did it on the final day of our cruise when it was raining back in Miami. But yeah, you can see the 3 levels of the Solarium there. Coming back out, basically all of deck 16, between here and those funnels, is just open seating. There is a bar up here on the on the port side. But yeah, this is pretty much just loungers and day beds. Some of the newer Oasis class ships and Oasis of the Seas have those casitas up here on deck 16, but Harmony does not have them yet. But we are going to continue moving back on deck 16. You can see this is basically just the open deck. I love to come up here and get some views of the ships. It's got some good sight lines and whatnot. And then you can look down on the other pools, or the 4 pools that are in this area. So it's nice if you want to be close to the pool but not totally in all the action. You can choose to sit up here on 16. Then moving inside towards the aft of the ship, you have the Windjammer buffet. You can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner in here. The food is really good. They've got all different kinds of sections, American and Asian style food, and they had like that was like a hibachi type area, and they've got a bunch of desserts. So like I said, this is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but just refer to the cruise compass to see the times, because sometimes one side is open and closed to allow the change. Then to get to this part of deck 16, you actually have to go back down to 15 and walk to the back, and then it kind of jumps up to deck 16. But this is where you're going to find your 2 Flow Rider surf simulators. Usually the one on the port side is used for surfboarding, and this one here on the starboard side is used for boogie boarding. Sometimes they'll divide it up, and so that way you can do 2-on-1, but this is basically where you're going to find the surf simulators. Then you can look down and get a nice view of the Aqua Theater, and you can see the shows going on from up there, which is really nice, and you can get really cool views of the wake of the ship from up here. It's really awesome. And then the Ultimate Abyss is also located back here, which takes you from deck 16 down to the boardwalk on deck 6. You just get into one of those little mats and slide all the way down. Then you have a bar just behind there, or I guess technically just in front of there. And you can see the other surf simulator here. You can see this guy's doing the surfboarding. The rules vary on who can participate in this. When I cruised, it was anyone. And then when I cruised again, it was only people that can actually stand up. But you'll just have to check when you get on board. And this is where the zip line is.